G'day folks, how are you? I'm Iski and welcome to my YouTube video. And finally, I'm finally doing this. It's something that I've wanted to do for months now. And that is I am finally going to fix my gold class home theatre lounge that I found at the dump. And we're going to fix it. Now, I'll just quickly give you the rundown what's going on. So I went to the dump one day, one afternoon, a very late afternoon. Late in the afternoon, and I saw myself this lounge. It was just sitting in the middle of the dirt. It had just rained, it was wet, just rained slightly, so it was okay. But I brought it home. I hired myself one of those Bunnings Britex upholstery cleaners. They do carpet and upholstery, lounges and all that. Thoroughly cleaned it. Took me a couple of hours and it turned out brand spanking new looking. And it should, because it's only 2 years old. I looked and there's a date underneath it and it's like late 2019 or something like that. So I don't know why people threw that. Well, I do know the reason why they threw it away, but still it's covered under warranty, the reason why they threw it away. And I'll tell you what that reason is now. Basically, if you have a look down here, we have a single recliner. This is fully automatic, by the way, and the motor actuator in that is not working. It doesn't work, so it doesn't recline. This one here, this is the Chase. Now, in the video that I made where I found these, I'll leave this in the description of this video if you want to check that out. It's a great video. I love it. Yeah, basically, I said that this is working intermittently. No, it was working all the time. I didn't realize that I had plugged it into a power board that was plugged into a smart switch. So basically, every time I turned the lights off in my cinema, it would literally disconnect the power. So that's the reason. So it's working great now once I plugged it into a normal outlet. This one here, that one does not work. That does not recline. This one over here is the same. And by the way, I've just found this divider here. It still needs to be cleaned. I'm not going to keep it, but it's just temporary and I love it. It's a great way of separating those two seats, which by the way should be pushed up against each other. So yeah, if you've got people who don't know one another, it just kind of alleviates that awkwardness, I guess. And it does look cool. It does look super cool. These are all on this, the curve. I've built my home theatre riser to be on a curve, and I'll be doing some other things like making wedges that go in between there so things can't fall down. But we'll do that in separate videos. By the way, there's something else that we need to do, and that is, you can see here, there's a switch here. Now that switch works this seat. So basically, when the previous owners pulled this apart to take it to the dump, they forgot there was a wire down here somewhere, and it was plugged together with a lockable plug. I don't know why they've used that. So basically they've just reefed it apart and that has busted and the plug's broken, the wires have come out. So what I'm going to have to do is replace that, and I've decided to use, let me just set you down here. I've decided to use one of these plugs, a very simple plug. This is what you get to connect, if you can see that, this is what you get to connect strip lighting, LED strip lighting. And I've got heaps of these, and I have been working with LED strip lights ever since they came out. So that's what we're going to use, because you can see in the future, I guarantee you I'll forget that it's attached by a plug. But this time, if I do move the seats too far apart, look what happens. There you go, it just pulls apart and there's no lockable plug, so it's not going to break. So cool, we'll be attaching that. We're going to be doing all this in a time-lapse video, sorry. I'll quickly show you what it looks like underneath each one of these recliners, although you did see it in that video in the beginning of this main video. By the way, that stuff that we pulled off that seat, there you go, check that out. So we have our two motors here, although we will need another motor to complete this, because we need 3 motors. By the way, look at this. I've got a few. I do have a few, and I've been collecting them for a reason, and if we have time later on in this video, I'll tell you what that reason is. And by the way, if you have a look down here, this is an LED cup holder. I'm not using these in my gold class seating. This seating that we're going to be working on today, I plan on pimping out my red leather seats at the back and down here. I'm going to be pimping those out with LED cup holders And by the way, that's why I'm collecting these. I'm thinking about turning them into fully automatic recliners. But if we have a look here, let's just push a button, see if anything works. There you go. So I know they work. Or at least I hope they work, because sometimes they do work when they're not under load. But the cool part is, this particular motor here is the identical motor that is in these seats. I mean, they're the only ones that I've ever found that are identical. So it doesn't matter, they're all pretty generic, but it's good to know that they are the identical motors. Or is it good to know, because all of those motors broke down? So who knows? But guys, that's what we're going to do. What I'm going to quickly do now is let's start with this one here. We'll flip it on its side. We'll have a quick look, and then I'll start a time lapse where I'm replacing them. I'm not going to walk you through it because it's pretty bloody easy. It's only like, I think, 6 bolts, hopefully. But yeah, let's give that a shot. Let's start. We've got to do something. All right, let's have a quick look. Okay, so you can see here, this is the seat on its side. This is the faulty motor actuator. It's just not working. So what we have to do is basically pull that out and replace it with the one from our 3-seater lounge that we pulled apart in the beginning of this video. That's it there. Now, it's pretty easy. All we need to do is, by the way, this is the first time I've ever done this. I've pulled a bunch of them out. I've never put one back in. But basically what we need to do is take those bolts out, those bolts there out. We're going to use the existing arms. So we're going to have to take these bolts out and these bolts out. And before we stick this in, we're going to have to remove these arms, okay? So yeah, it should be pretty easy. It should be pretty easy. Now, the other thing is, remember that wire that I told you broke? Now that's one side of it. So this is the controller that moves this up and down. The switch I was showing you over here, remember that switch down there? Well, I don't know what they've done, but they've actually taped it up with some electrical tape. So that's actually the wires have pulled out of there. In fact, let's quickly just cut that off, because it's just being held in with this cable tie. There we go. So you can see that that's the plug that goes directly into the motor. But yeah, so inside here will be a plug that is like a lockable plug. I'm not sure what it's going to be like, but if we have a look at the other side of this, remember this is where our switch was. You look down the bottom there, you can see down there that's all bare wire. They've actually been pulled out of the plug. So yeah, we're just going to have to replace it with that one there, and we'll be all kind of apple pie. All right. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so I've just taken this electrical tape off. What's interesting, it looks like they have broken it previously and they've put all of these crimpers on. And yeah, that's a dumb way of doing it, but I guess they got it working in the end. So I'm going to have to remove all of these crimps. There we go. And attach our, LED strip lighting plug in between this here as well as that over there. You can see it on the floor just over there. All right, so I guess let's make a move. Let's start this. Computer, lights. Computer, lights. Computer, lights. Computer, lights. Computer, lights.